You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 119. Yeah, I know some people are going to think this is crazy, but I believe that running a business, growing your private practice is really kind of a spiritual practice because it is one that will challenge you like no other to grow in ways that you didn't even know you needed. It is a practice that will call you to be your best self. And sometimes that's tough. And that's what I want to talk about today. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. This is Wendy Pitts-Reeves, your host, and I am so happy to be hanging out with you guys today. How you doing? How is life? What's happening? What's new and good in your neck of the woods? As I often ask my coaching clients. I don't know about you, but I live in SEC country, as in football, the football mecca of the United States. And as this is going live, we are heading into football season in a big way, which is a really big deal where I live here in East Tennessee. I talk to people all the time who move here from other parts of the country who say that, football is always kind of a big deal, but it's on a whole new level here. And yeah, it is on a whole new level here. Not even kidding. I can't complain about that, though, because that adds some fun stuff to the fall. And you know what? There's halftime, which is the part I care about the most anyway. So I'm not so sorry about that. So I wanted to share, I haven't done this in a while, but I wanted to share with you, I got a comment actually from one of my guests. This is someone I had interviewed here on the show, and I'm so touched by this. She had written a review and posted it, which I had missed. This is Sandra, and I just found this recently, and I just love this so much. She said, fantastic host, great insight. I will tell you guys, you don't necessarily know this, but a lot of times when I'm doing these interviews with people, I enjoy the conversation so much. I think sometimes it takes my guests a little bit by surprise because we go places where they don't always expect us to go. So that's definitely the case. But anyway, Sandra said, I love Wendy's podcast, and I'm not even a therapist. She has such a great way of interviewing her clients and ask questions that resonate with how to run a successful business. Not only will you receive practical tips and insight, but suggestions about things you never even considered. Wendy is fun, personable, and real. Take a listen. You'll be hooked. Well, I hope she's right about that. I hope that you will indeed be hooked. And I also hope that if you're loving this the way I know that some of you are, because you tell me, that you will take a minute or two to post a review yourself. If you are listening to this on Apple, it's really easy. You just scroll down to the bottom and it's right there. You can give a rating. There's a series of stars there. And then there's a place where you can say, leave a review. You don't have to use your name if you don't want to, but of course I love it when you do. But golly, that would just be awesome if you did that. And perhaps I'll read yours here on the program as well. If you're shy and you'd rather not go public like that, but you just want to reach out to me personally for any reason at all related to the podcast, you can text me directly, because in the show notes right below this episode, you will see there is a link there that you can click on to text me. It's really cool. If you have a specific question about the episode, if you have something you want me to cover that we haven't talked about, or if you know somebody you think would be a great guest for the show, by all means, text me. I love hearing from you. So whether it's through a review or through a text, whatever, reach out to me because I like talking to you guys. and thinking about talking with friends. That's where I'm going to start with today. As I was thinking about the topic I want to cover today, I really want to talk a little bit about how your business will challenge you sometimes in ways that you just don't ever see coming. And as I was thinking about this, I thought about some of the experiences that I had in the mastermind. I'm in a mastermind now that I have been in now for this particular group. We've been meeting together for 4 years. I think 4 years at this point. But a lot of us met in a coaching program that had its own mastermind. And there was a time that particular group, so my group meets mostly online. My mastermind does. The group I was in before, this is pre-pandemic, we met in person 4 times a year. And often we would go out to dinner afterwards and talk about what we had been learning during the day, what was going on in our businesses, all that kind of fun stuff that people like to talk about when you're a business owner. And I was out with a group of friends one night when there was like 6 or 8 of us around the table, all entrepreneurs running different kinds of businesses. But the person that I am remembering in particular was another therapist who was there that night. And there was a moment when they were all kind of coaching me in a way, and she got really frustrated with me. And she said, "Oh, that's BS, and you know it," to me at one point. Like, she got really frustrated, and her lips were tight, her voice was tense. There was she was fierce in her eyes. She was not kidding. Like, she was genuinely a little frustrated with me. And I still remember this because we were in a restaurant. There were we had a decent sized group. And I suddenly kind of felt like I was in the middle of like in the hot seat in a group. Y'all know what I'm talking about here. I have a lot of friends who speak their minds, and I'm actually grateful for that. So I'm used to them coming from the blunt end on the interpersonal spectrum. But this was different. She was genuinely frustrated with me. I knew she was speaking from love, but for a second I thought she was mad. Well, she wasn't. She was just frustrated and determined, absolutely 100% determined to get me to see something that I couldn't see. She wanted me to see that my business was calling me to grow. I often feel like that's what I do as a coach, that when I'm working with people one-on-one or in my Evolve Mastermind, that's a lot of what I do, that I see what's possible for them even when they can't. And that's what she was doing that day. That's what she was doing. So what had happened was this particular program had somewhere between 100 and 125 people in it at a time in general. And when we all came together, we met in one big room and then often divided into small groups, of course, to do work. But it was a big group. And I had spoken on stage that day. The coach had asked me to come up and speak a little bit. And I had done that. And it went really well, as it often does when I do things like that. In fact, it had gone so well that particular day that people kept coming up to me all the way through that retreat, through that 3-day retreat, telling me how much I had helped them. I can't tell you how much it helped me to hear you. Like, that's the kind of thing is what I kept hearing over and over and over for the whole 3 days that we were there. And so it was at dinner on one of those nights that my friends kept saying that, "Wendy, honey, you really, 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 really need to be out there speaking." This is before I had a podcast, before I had done lots of things. It's also before the pandemic. But they were really pushing me. They were saying, "You need to be speaking. You need to be on a national stage. You need to be out there like a lot." And I remember feeling slightly cornered. And I remember saying, "But I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to make that happen. I don't know what to talk about. I don't know how to get the gigs. I don't know how to get there." And even as I'm remembering this, I remember feeling kind of whiny and pitiful and, playing small in a way. But I felt a little bit under attack, which is what direct feedback feels like sometimes. And maybe I shouldn't say this. It might be that's how some of my coaching clients feel sometimes because, when you see what's possible for somebody. Well, anyway, it was me saying, "I just don't know how, I don't know how, I don't know how, I don't know how." That's what really got to Regina. And that's when she said, "Oh, that's BS and you know it." She said that and a whole lot of other things, like all the way through dinner. I do remember wishing they would talk to somebody else, and I think eventually the topic moved on, but that came back over and over again, and in fact, continues to pop up every now and then. We all need friends like that, don't we? We need friends who call us on our stuff, even when it makes us squirm or cry. And I did some of both. I've seen this happen to other folks that were in that group with me, and I've also seen it happen with my own coaching clients in Evolve, in my own mastermind. To top it all off, even as that was happening, I could hear in my head the words that I say to my coaching folks all the time. I say this all the time. The how is not the problem. It never is. The problem is giving yourself permission to do what you wanted to do anyway. Once you've got that, you'll figure out the how. And y'all, that is true. But oh my gosh, the irony. Because I have felt that way often when it comes to speaking. I feel that way a little bit now when it comes to guesting on other podcasts. But as you will see, there is a theme here, right? Well, I understood what was being said to me that night and why it was good for me to hear. I understood where it was coming from, and I also understood the truth of it, even as I was fighting it in my head. Well, I work like this with my clients. So often when I'm doing intensive one-on-one work, whether it's through a VIP day or maybe somebody is kind of on the hot seat when we're having our group calls and Evolve, there are times when I can see what's possible, and my clients are running into their own internal roadblocks too. Once I was working with a client where I was really challenging her to step fully into her power, to own her value, and to let it be reflected through her pricing and her packages, because she was seriously undercharging this particular person at the time. And she got a little squirmy because, and y'all, there's always a fine line between when do you challenge somebody and call them forward, and when do you just understand that people have to grow when they're ready and the way they need to. So, that's a moment of discernment. But in this case, I felt pretty strongly that she was undercharging and that there was some real room for personal growth here. And at one point she said to me, I don't let just anybody talk to me that way. Because she was getting a little squirmy and she was giving me the side eye because I was challenging her to see that she was playing small just the way I had been. But I just grinned at her. I wasn't mad, and she wasn't really either. She was uncomfortable because she also knew I was right, just like I knew Regina was right. I knew this was good for her. I knew it was making her think. I'd shown her numbers and what was possible if she just cleaned up some of her pricing, which was kind of all over the map. And I knew that if she would only let herself go there, she had a breakthrough coming soon. I've seen that process over and over. When people will literally, like it's right in front of them, whatever it is they need to step into. It's not always about pricing. It can be all kinds of things. But it's there, and it will happen to you repeatedly. If it doesn't, you're done. You might as well quit. If you're not constantly being challenged in some way to step up to the next level of discomfort, if you're not comfortable being uncomfortable, so funny that came up in another call I had recently, then you're not growing. But if you're running a practice, I would be really surprised if there weren't all kinds of ways that you were being asked to grow just by the spirit of your business. So how do you know when that's happening? How do you know when your business is calling you forward in a significant and a very real way? Well, there's a couple of things. One is when the same problem or obstacle keeps popping up and you know you've got to deal with it. Maybe it's sloppy payments. Maybe it's feeling resentful because you're not charging enough. Maybe it's That the clients that are showing up are not the ones that you really, really feel most that your heart speaks to you to work with. Maybe your hours are all over the map and you're sick and tired of working evenings and weekends. Maybe you've got an idea for something. I don't know. Usually it's going to be a problem though. A lot of times it's a problem. Like there's something that's not happening that needs to, or there's something that is happening that needs to stop. You may even know how to deal with it, but you're for whatever reason have been reluctant to take action. Like having people cancel or no show on you all the time for that first appointment. That's a problem. That's a system problem in your business that is asking you to fix it, which is also asking you to grow. Maybe it's not a problem. Maybe it's when the same opportunity or message keeps coming back to you over and over again. When everywhere you go, people keep saying the same thing to you. This is not about running a practice, but as I'm saying that, I'm thinking there was a time when I used to run a women's leadership summit and a big conference for women about inviting women to step into leadership. And I did a lot of public speaking about economic issues impacting women in Tennessee and various factors that would help improve the economic status of women in Tennessee. This was kind of about an 8-year period when I was involved in this in a big way. And when I was doing that, I traveled around. Speaking of speaking, I traveled around all over East Tennessee giving talks about this. And one of the things that I would often talk about is the importance of having women in office. Because there are all kinds of numbers that show what a difference it makes when you have more women, when the ratios are more even with women in office. And every time I gave that kind of talk, and that would just be one of several points I would make, but every time I gave that point, someone would either raise their hand and say it, come up to me afterwards and say it, or write it on a comment card and turn it in and say, why don't you run for office? Why don't you run for office? When are you going to run for office? That happened to me so much that it got to be funny. And I blew it off and blew it off and blew it off until I couldn't blow it off anymore. And then the day came when I couldn't blow it off anymore. And I ran for office. And I did indeed serve a 4-year period in local office, which is a whole story that is beyond the scope of this podcast. But I say that to you that when you keep hearing the same thing reflected back to you everywhere you go, there may be something there that the universe is trying to say to you that perhaps you should listen to. What is that? Why does that keep happening? What am I being asked to do here? How am I being called to expand? Maybe it's not a problem. Maybe it's not even something people are saying to you. Maybe it's just an idea that won't let go. It wakes you up in the middle of the night. It pops up every time you're in a brainstorming session somewhere. It comes up in your journal all the time. It drops out of your mouth when you're talking to a colleague, and then you immediately want to take it back. But it's an idea that gives you goosebumps or brings you to tears or makes you laugh and cry at the same time, or just really it's like sends electrical shocks through your body because it is so enticing, so exciting, so powerful to even imagine if you just knew the how, right? When the soul of your business is challenging you to step up in a big way, it's usually scary. And often what you will feel is fear. And keep in mind, when I say big way, I don't mean that you have to launch a women's conference. It could be something as simple as you stop seeing people on Saturday. It may be something that doesn't even look that big to somebody else, but feels huge to you. Or it may be that you want to take clients to France for a weekend retreat in Paris that is tied to a personal growth opportunity of some sort. I don't know. But when the soul of your business is challenging you and you feel that sort of roller coaster ride kind of fear, and you know it's right, that means something. That means something, y'all. That was certainly the case for me back then. That night that I was having dinner with my friends and Regina completely pinned me to the wall. Every time I had ever given a talk anywhere, I've almost always gotten outstanding remarks from people in the audience. I once spoke to a major social work conference in Chicago, and literally for the next 3 days had people coming up to me in the hallway and saying, I was in the session you gave, I was in that breakout session, or they were saying, I heard it. You're the one, are you the one people are talking about? Like I got that kind of reaction. No kidding. Not trying to brag. That really did happen. And I had been getting messages for a while that it was time for me to broaden my reach, right? That's certainly the case for my clients who have people thank them for saving their lives and yet often undervalue their work in all kinds of ways. Well, not long after that tough talk, that loving tough talk from my friends that night, I did take action. I created marketing materials on a signature talk. I actually, this was something that started in earnest after that, has progressed and evolved since then. But I developed the first of what is now 2 really pretty significant signature talks. I added people to my team to help me build a speaking platform, which today has turned into my podcast. I started seeking out opportunities and applying to speak around the country in different conferences and events, etc., etc. And 2 years later, launched a podcast. But here's the thing. The how really is never the problem. That's why I love it today when my own clients have breakthroughs, like making their first video or selling their first $3,000 package or just strengthening their boundaries so they get their life back and their sanity back. Whatever it looks like, and it's different for each person because what's easy for one is hard for another. What's hard for one is easy for another. But so where your particular growth edge is will vary for each one of you. One of the cool things about being in a mastermind is that you see this in each other. That's what was happening that night for me. And you will call each other out to grow and also support each other. There's nothing like that. At the time that I am recording this, I am just a week short of heading out to Washington State to meet with my current ongoing long-term mastermind. And I know I will get both challenged and support while I'm there, and I can't wait. I would love that for you. This is what happens when the soul of your business will not let you rest until you do the thing you're being asked to do. So what about you? What obstacle or problem are you being asked to solve because it keeps showing up? What message do you keep hearing from people around you over and over and over again that must mean something? What idea just won't let go? What are you being called to let go of? Or where are you being called to step up? How are you being invited to move forward? I don't know. But if you're listening to this, then I bet there's something, because I don't think you'd be here if that wasn't the case. I would love to hear from you. Like I said at the beginning, you can text me directly in the show notes below. You'll see a link to that. You can email me. You can, and of course, I mentioned leaving a review, but I don't care about that as much as I care about you. So if just reaching out to me privately is a way to do that, then do that. Reach out to me privately and let me encourage you, even if all I get to do is send you a virtual high five. All right? Because whatever it is, you can do this. You've got this. The how is never the problem. Once you give yourself permission to do whatever it is, by golly, that you are being challenged to do, you'll figure it out. You always do, right? You always have. You always will. And myself, I'm here to help, and so are a whole lot of other people. Just let people around you know what you need. All right, my friend, that's what I've got for you today. I hope you are encouraged. I want you to believe in yourself. I want you to know that you are not alone. And I want you to know that you've got this. All right, everybody, have a great week. And I will see you here next time. And the week after that, and the week after that. Right here on Ideal Practice, where you and we grow together. Have a good one. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.